Welcome back to Rugby Rundown. I'm Adrian, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gavin. We're diving deep into what promises to be one of the most fascinating URC seasons yet. The 2025 to 2026 campaign kicks off September 26th. And honestly, Gavin, I can't remember being this excited about a season preview in years.
Absolutely, Adrian. And what a setup we have. Leinster coming in as defending champions after that absolutely dominant 32-7 destruction of the Bulls at Croke Park. That final was meant to end their 4-year trophy drought, but it felt more like a statement that they're back to their terrifying best.
And that's the brutal irony for the Bulls, isn't it? Third grand final loss in 4 seasons. They're becoming the Buffalo Bills of rugby. Consistently excellent, always there at the end, but just can't get over the line when it matters most. But Gavin, before we get to the Bulls' attempts to fix that, we need to talk about what might be the biggest story of this season. And it's happening up in Scotland.
Oh, the Scottish Revolution! This is fascinating stuff, Adrian. Scottish rugby has completely torn up their playbook and said, we're going all in on homegrown talent. They've launched this new male performance pathway, expanded both Glasgow and Edinburgh's academies to include under-23s, brought back Scotland A fixtures. The whole 9 yards.
It's absolutely necessary, but also absolutely terrifying if you're a Glasgow or Edinburgh fan this season. Glasgow are running their smallest senior squad in 16 years. Just 40 players. They've lost experienced guys like Jack Mann, Henko Venter, and Tom Jordan. And they're basically saying to a bunch of kids, right, you're up. Off you go into the URC meat grinder.
And the timing couldn't be worse for Glasgow. Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones are going to miss at least the first 5 rounds because of Lions duty. So you've got the defending URC champions trying to repeat with a skeleton squad and their first-choice center pairing unavailable. Franco Smith must be having some sleepless nights.
Edinburgh seem to be taking a slightly more measured approach, though. They're expanding their pro academy from 15 to 23 players, but they've got structured deals for guys like Jerry Blythe Lafferty and Oliver Duncan that ease them into senior rugby over 2 years. Still risky, but less throw them to the wolves than Glasgow's strategy.
Now, Adrian, if we're talking about contrasts, we have to address the elephant in the room, the absolutely staggering financial disparity in Irish rugby. Leinster are operating on a completely different planet financially compared to their provincial rivals, and it's only getting more pronounced.
The numbers are jaw-dropping. Leinster's annual revenue hits $45.2 million. Their player wage bill is reportedly around €16 million. That's more than most English Premiership and French top 14 clubs. And here's the kicker. With 11 centrally contracted players, they're only paying 30% of those massive salaries. The IRFU picks up the other 70%.
Meanwhile, Ulster are reportedly running a deficit of between £2.5 and £3 million. They've lost their Kingspan Stadium naming rights deal. Jacob Stockdale's salary is back on their books after losing his central contract. And CEO Johnny Petrie is publicly talking about sustainable solutions with the IRFU. That's corporate speak for we're in deep trouble.
But Ulster's response to their financial crisis is absolutely brilliant from a rugby perspective, Gavin. Instead of trying to compete across the board, they've gone surgical. 2 massive world-class signings in exactly the positions they needed most. Warno Augustus from Northampton and Angus Bell from the Waratahs.
Those are statement signings, Adrian. Augustus, they call him Trockie, meaning small truck in Afrikaans, is exactly the physical, gain line winning number 8 Ulster have been crying out for. And Bell is a wrecking ball at loosehead prop with 36 wallaby caps. If those two stay fit, they could completely transform Ulster's pack.
But while Ulster's making these statement signings, we can't overlook what's happening down in Munster. Clayton McMillan's appointment as head coach could be the most underrated story of this entire season. This is a guy who won the premiership with Toyota Verblitz in Japan, led the Chiefs to their first ever Super Rugby title. He knows how to build winning cultures.
And Adrian, the timing is perfect for McMillan at Munster. They've got this incredible spine still, Peter O'Mahony's leadership, Conor Murray's experience, and then you add someone like Antoine Frisch, who's been their most consistent back over the past 2 seasons. Plus, they've addressed their biggest weakness by bringing in Thakir Abrahams from the Stormers. Pace out wide was killing them last year.
The key question for Munster is whether McMillan can solve their away form crisis. They were dreadful on the road last season, lost 7 of their 9 away fixtures in the URC. But McMillan's coached all over the world. He understands different environments. If he can make them competitive away from Thomond Park, they're genuine title contenders again.
Now, Adrian, speaking of teams with potential, we haven't talked nearly enough about the South African sides. The Sharks are fascinating. They've got all this attacking talent with Afalele Fassi, Lucanio Am, and Makazole Mapimpi, but they're so maddeningly inconsistent. One week, they'll destroy Leinster away, the next they'll lose at home to Zebri. It's like they have a split personality.
The Sharks' problem has always been their mindset, Gavin. When they're up for it mentally, that backline can rip anyone apart. But they seem to struggle with the week-to-week grind of Northern Hemisphere rugby. And don't get me started on the travel. Those 12-hour flights between Durban and Dublin have to take a toll eventually. Their home record is phenomenal, but they're consistently poor away from Kings Park.
The Stormers are interesting too. They've been quietly building something solid under John Dobson. Their pack is absolutely monstrous when healthy, with guys like Stephen Kitshoff and Peter Steph Dutoit providing that Springbok quality foundation. They're not flashy like the Sharks, but they're methodical and physical. They could be the dark horses from South Africa this season if they can stay injury-free.
And Gavin, we absolutely can't sleep on the Italian revolution that's been happening. Benetton under Marco Bortolami have become genuine contenders for European spots. They're no longer just making up the numbers. They took scalps last season, including that incredible win over Ulster in Belfast. Stadio Monigo has become a fortress, and guys like Rhino Smith and Thomas Albornoz are really developing into quality players.
The Italian improvement across both franchises has been remarkable, Adrian. Even Zebre showed real fight last season. They're not the whipping boys they once were. The FIR's investment in coaching and infrastructure is finally paying dividends. Both Italian sides are becoming genuinely difficult away fixtures, especially late in the season when they're fighting for European qualification or trying to avoid finishing last.
Before we get to our predictions, Gavin, let's talk about some key players to watch this season. Obviously, Pollard at the Bulls is the marquee name, but I'm fascinated by Glasgow's young guns. They're throwing Hugh Renton, Gregor Hiddleston, and Ewan Ferry into the deep end. These kids could either sink or swim spectacularly. There's no middle ground with Glasgow's gamble.
Great shout on the Glasgow youngsters, Adrian. For me, I'm watching Jacob Stockdale's bounce-back season at Ulster. He's had a tough few years since losing that central contract, but if he can rediscover that 2018 form alongside players like Augustus and Bell, Ulster could be electric in attack. And speaking of comebacks, keep an eye on Sam Hidalgo-Klein at Edinburgh. He's back from France and could be the difference maker they need at scrum half.
From the South African sides, I'm keeping a close eye on Jordan Hendricksy at the Sharks. This kid's got serious X-factor potential at fly half. And if he can bring that consistency week to week, he could be the game changer the Sharks need to stop being so hot and cold. And at Leinster, beyond the obvious star power, watch out for Lee Barron. He's pushing Dan Sheehan hard for that starting hooker spot.
And Adrian, I'm absolutely fascinated by the Hugh Gavin story at Connacht. Here's an 18-year-old who's already capped for Ireland, and now he's going to be learning from Stuart Lancaster week in, week out. If Lancaster can channel that raw talent and pace, we could be watching the development of Ireland's next superstar. Plus, with Bundy Aki mentoring him in the centers, the learning environment couldn't be better.
Now, Gavin, we have to talk about the signings that could genuinely decide this title race. And it starts with the Bulls, finally addressing their biggest weakness. They've brought back Handré Pollard from Leicester Tigers, and this might be the missing piece they've been searching for through all those painful final defeats.
This is huge, Adrian. The Bulls have been this incredible attacking force, but they've lacked that composed, world-class game manager when the pressure ramps up in finals. Pollard is a double World Cup winner. He's been there, done that in the biggest moments. He's the clinical edge they've been missing. If he can provide that tactical control and goal-kicking precision when it matters most, the Bulls could finally break their grand final curse.
And then Leinster, because apparently being the best team in Europe wasn't enough, have gone and signed 81-cap All Black center Rieko Ioane for the season. It's almost unfair. Leo Cullen now has this explosive, versatile weapon who can play center or wing, adding another layer of world-class depth to what was already the most stacked backline in the competition.
The rich getting richer, essentially. Though I will say, Ioane's form with the All Blacks has dipped recently, so there might be questions about whether he can recapture his best rugby. But in a new environment, with Leinster's coaching setup and that Dublin rugby culture, It could be exactly what reinvigorates his career.
But Gavin, the coaching story that has me most excited this season is happening in Galway. Stuart Lancaster to Connacht is absolutely massive. This could be a genuine game changer for Irish rugby's smallest province.
It's the appointment of the season, Adrian. Lancaster's CV speaks for itself. Led England to 4 second-place Six Nations finishes, played a pivotal role in Leinster's dynasty as senior coach. His coaching philosophy is built around defensive structure, tactical discipline, and clinical game management. And guess what Connacht's biggest problem was last season?
Closing out games. They finished 6-0-18 last season, losing so many matches from winning positions. Lancaster is the perfect antidote to that. He's not just a coach, he's a program architect. With established internationals like Bundy Aki and Mac Hansen, plus young talent like Hugh Gavin coming through, the raw materials are there for Lancaster to build something special.
The bookmakers have Connacht at 66-1 for the title, which makes them the most compelling dark horse bet in the competition. If Lancaster can instill that tactical discipline and teach them to win those tight games, they could be this season's biggest improvers.
All right, Gavin, prediction time. Let's get bold here. How do you see the top 8 shaping up? I'm still backing Leinster to top the regular season table. That squad depth with Ioane added is just obscene. But I think the Bulls with Pollard finally get over the line in a grand final.
I love that take, Adrian. For me, Glasgow make the top 4 despite their squad issues. That core quality and Scottstoun advantage will see them through. Munster under Clayton McMillan become much more consistent and secure 4th. Ulster's marquee signings propel them back into the playoffs. And here's my bold call. Connacht under Lancaster sneak into 8th place as the season's biggest improvers.
I'm backing that Connacht call too. The Italian sides are going to be tricky as always. Benetton aren't pushovers anymore and have established the Stadio Monigo as a tough place to visit. The Sharks have the raw talent, but their consistency issues will likely continue.
Bottom line, this season has all the ingredients for something special. Leinster's dominance being challenged by a Bulls team that finally has their game manager. Ulster's physical renaissance. Scottish rugby's brave new world. Lancaster's tactical revolution in Connacht. We could genuinely have 5 or 6 different teams with legitimate playoff aspirations come the business end.
And the beauty is, we don't have long to wait to see how these narratives play out. September 26th can't come soon enough. That's all from Rugby Rundown. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into what promises to be an absolutely captivating URC season. I'm Adrian.
And I'm Gavin. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next week when we'll be breaking down the opening weekend's action. Until then, enjoy the rugby!